Is there life after death? Welcome to our special podcast from the Echoes of Unknown. What happens when the final breath leaves our bodies? Is the end truly the end, or is it merely a doorway to another existence? For centuries, humanity has grappled with the question of life after death. From ancient beliefs to modern science, the concept of an afterlife has sparked curiosity, fear, and even hope. Today, we journey into the unknown, exploring the possibility of life after death, and uncovering stories that will make you question everything you thought you knew. The ancient beliefs. In the beginning, before the dawn of recorded history, death was not feared, it was revered. Many ancient cultures believed that death was not an end, but a passage. The Egyptians, for example, saw death as the transition to the afterlife, a journey through the underworld. Their intricate burial rituals, including the famous mummification process, were meant to preserve the body for the soul's journey beyond this world. But why this obsession with what lies beyond? In Egypt, the soul's fate was determined by the weighing of the heart. The heart was believed to hold the essence of a person's life, and in the afterlife, it would be weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth. If the heart was lighter than the feather, the soul could enter paradise. If heavier, it was devoured by Amit, the demoness, and the soul would be lost forever. This concept of judgment echoes in many cultures, from the Christian idea of heaven and hell, to the Hindu belief in reincarnation. Even the ancient Greeks believed in an underworld ruled by Hades, a place where souls either suffered or were rewarded based on their lives. But what if these ancient beliefs weren't just stories? What if they were based on something more real? The philosophical perspective. Philosophers, too, have pondered the question of life after death. Their musings stretch back thousands of years, from the earliest recorded thoughts of the ancient Greeks to modern debates on the nature of consciousness. The great philosopher Socrates, for instance, saw death not as an end, but as a transition into something beyond our understanding. Socrates, in his final moments, famously declared that death was either a peaceful sleep or a passage to another realm where the soul would continue its existence. To him, death was not something to fear, for it was either a release from suffering or a reunion with those who had passed before. But not all philosophers shared this hopeful view. The philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre, a leading figure in existentialism, believed that death marked the final end of consciousness, an irreversible termination of the self. According to Sartre, there was no life after death. Instead, there was only the stark reality of nothingness. For him, the idea of an afterlife was a mere illusion, a product of human fear and the desire for permanence. But what if Sartre was wrong? What if the desire for an afterlife isn't a mere fantasy, but an inherent part of the human condition? Perhaps death represents more than a conclusion, but a doorway to something more profound, a transition into the unknown, as philosophers like Plato suggested, where the soul journeys through a higher plane of existence. Religious beliefs, the afterlife across cultures. In nearly every religion, there exists a belief in life after death. These beliefs, although diverse in form, share one common theme: the soul's journey beyond the physical realm. Let's explore the beliefs of different cultures and religions, to see how they envision the fate of the soul. In Christianity, the afterlife is a place of eternal peace or suffering, depending on one's actions in life. Heaven is portrayed as a paradise, where the faithful are reunited with God, while hell is a place of torment for those who have sinned. The resurrection of the dead is a central tenet of Christian doctrine, offering hope for a future life beyond death. In Islam, the afterlife is similarly a place of reward or punishment. Muslims believe that on the Day of Judgment, each soul will be judged according to their deeds on earth. If found worthy, they are granted entry into Jannah, a heavenly paradise. If not, they are cast into Jahannam, a fiery hell. The Quran speaks of an afterlife where individuals are granted eternal peace or suffer for their sins. In Hinduism, the concept of reincarnation is central to the understanding of life and death. The soul is believed to be eternal, cycling through various lives in a journey of spiritual evolution. Depending on one's actions, or karma, in each life, the soul may be reborn into a higher or lower form, until it eventually achieves moksha, liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Buddhism shares a similar view with Hinduism, believing in the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, known as samsara. However, the goal in Buddhism is not to be reborn, but to break free from this cycle through enlightenment. Upon reaching nirvana, the soul is liberated from suffering and enters a state of perfect peace. These religions, while differing in their specifics, all offer a vision of life beyond the physical realm. Whether it's a peaceful afterlife, an endless cycle of rebirth, or ultimate liberation, they share a common belief that death is not the final word. Scientific exploration, is there proof? While religion offers hope for an afterlife, and philosophy contemplates the nature of death, science approaches the question with a more skeptical eye. For centuries, death has been viewed through the lens of biology. When the heart stops, the brain ceases to function, and the body begins its irreversible decay. But in recent years, scientific exploration has pushed the boundaries of our understanding. One of the most fascinating areas of research into life after death is the study of near-death experiences, or NDEs. These experiences, where people claim to have had out-of-body experiences or encountered beings of light while clinically dead, have captured the imagination of both scientists and laypeople alike. One of the most prominent studies on NDEs was conducted by Dr. Pim van Lommel, a Dutch cardiologist. He spent years researching patients who had experienced NDEs during cardiac arrest. Van Lommel's research suggests that consciousness may not be entirely dependent on brain activity. Some of his subjects described vivid, life-changing experiences that occurred even when their brains showed no signs of life. Could this be proof that consciousness exists independently of the body? Yet, despite these compelling accounts, skeptics argue that NDEs can be explained through the brain's chemical reactions during moments of extreme stress. Hallucinations caused by a lack of oxygen, they claim, could account for the vivid imagery and sensations described by those who have died and returned. But what if there's more to it? Quantum physicists like Dr. Stuart Hameroff and Sir Roger Penrose suggest that consciousness may not reside solely in the brain, but instead in the quantum field, a non-local space that could allow for the persistence of consciousness beyond the physical death of the brain. If their theory is correct, could death be merely a transition from one state of existence to another, where the soul, or consciousness, continues to exist in a different form? These ideas challenge our understanding of life, death, and consciousness. And yet, they remain only theories, unprovable.